Hi everybody, we're back with another part of the exercise, and in this part we're going to go back to the client side and fill in a table down here that will have the list of addresses we've added, and then we'll do another part after that that allows us to edit the addresses on the server side. So we'll go back to the server after we do this front end part. Okay, so I want a table that's going to be down here that gives us a list of what's been added. So let's go back to Bootstrap, and I'm just going to type in bootstrap table, and then getsbootstrap.com is what it is, and then table styles. So let's go here, and then they've got examples just like we cut and paste that address. Let's go ahead and cut and paste table, and you can pick whatever you want down here. I usually just take the simple one, but they've got quite a few examples that look pretty good. Bordered example. So these are nice looking tables. I'm going to go ahead and pick the first one though. This one right here. So I'm just going to copy that code. And then I'm going to go back to our editor, and on the index page, I'm going to paste it in right underneath the form itself. And so the form is inside of a div. And that div is a container. So let's go ahead and put it here maybe. Alright, so let's put, I don't even know what it's going to paste, so let's paste it in and see what it does. Okay, so it's got a table. Let's run that to see what it looks like. And then we'll see what we have to modify. Okay, so I just refreshed the page, and that doesn't look too bad. Might want some space there, but that's fine. You got to change the column header, so let's go do that first. And so here's the headers right here. So basically a table is a grid-like layout inside of a web page, and it's got a header, and so t head is header, and that's for this row that goes across here. And then th is, so tr starts a row, and th is a table header itself. So these are the parts of that. So each one you'll see number, first, last, handle. Number, first, last, handle. So let's go ahead and change that. We want, I guess we'll put email here. It's funny, it didn't add name to the other, to the form, so probably should do that at some point, because it's funny how it's just email and phone and then address and not a name. Okay, so what do we have here? We have address 1. Probably good enough. And let's start with that. And then we'll add their name in later on. All right, and so we don't need this one. Now here's another header, and that's the header going down the side here. And we don't need that, so we're just going to go ahead and remove that one. And remove it here. And remove it here. So we're still using some of their data. And we're going to get rid of that, but just to see what it looks like as we're doing it. So now we've got our email, phone, and address, and then we've got some information in here. So that's pretty much what we want for our table. And now we're going to clear it out. So here's, again, here's the table header up here. Here's a header row going across the top. You could set a header going down in a column. And here's the table body. So this is the part that's going to actually have our data in it. So tr starts another table row, and td, table data. And so those are the each of these cells here that would have a line going down here and look like more like a cell, like on a spreadsheet, but that's what that looks like there. So let's go ahead and cut these out for now. So we've got rows and headers. So if we do this, now we're just going to have the header with nothing underneath it. All right, so now we're going to do some JavaScript to get that in there. So what we're going to do is get our list of things when our list of addresses added, when our form loads. Okay, so here we've got a script tag, and we've got a save function that goes to here, and then here's more JavaScript code that's adding the listener on the submit. We can add more code down here, and let's go ahead and have this get the addresses as a get method. And I think we could just do fetch and address, and it should just work by default. And if it doesn't, we'll go back to Mozilla and see what we're missing. So fetch, and we're going to add details here. So what do we need it to do? I'm going to look it up on MDN because I don't remember. So MDN URL fetch get request. All right, let's see what that gets us. So here's the fetch API. And so we're back on this page again, and we're just going to see what get looks like. Okay, this is get right here. So it doesn't need the brackets. We're just going to get this response. So let's just copy that and use it. All right, here we're going to fetch. And I'm going to format. Formatting got funny there. Okay, there it is. All right, and we're going to actually just go to our addresses. And we're going to get this, and we're going to log that out to the console right now. And we've got nothing in there right now, so it should be empty, but let's see what it does. What does our console look like? I've hit escape. It's got the empty array, so it's empty. So let's fill in somebody here. Let's do Bob. Oh, nice, it remembered all the fields. So now if I save this, all right, so Bob's success. Now if I refresh this page, this array should now have a value in it. And it's got dots, so it definitely has something in there. Okay, and here is Bob. Okay, so now we've got Bob added there. So now let's get Bob added here. All right, so back on our page, we've got this data coming in here. So let's go ahead and have it do something with this. We should just be able to add a block statement here, and that should still work. Let's make sure. And it does. Okay. Otherwise, it would have shown us an error that it couldn't do something. So now we've got the data. So now what we want to do is, with this data, go through each item. And right now we've got one, but let's go ahead and pretend we're going to have more than one. So with this data, we're going to do a for loop. And you remember that from the loops lesson. Well, it's not int. This isn't. So for loops in JavaScript are very similar to for loops in Java. Extremely similar. The only difference is what the variables are. Java is very typed language, whereas JavaScript's a little bit looser. So here it's let, and it could be let any type. So I'm going to let this equal I, and then I'm going to do while data.length. Oh, you got to put I there. So while I is less than data.length. And then I++. That'll let us go through each one. And there's a for each statement in JavaScript, but I don't like using that because this is more clear and more easily debugged. So I prefer this structure. And this isn't a comma, it's supposed to be a semicolon. Okay, and so here I'm just going to go ahead and take in the variable, and I'm just going to call it address. And it's going to be data sub I. And I'm going to console that out. Okay, and I'm just incrementally filling this in as we go. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, it printed out the one address, no longer the array because I removed that. So we've got the one address. Now we just need to get that address to show up in here. All right, so I want to show up inside of here. So let's call this, give it an ID so we can access it. Let's call it address dash body. Let's do that. Okay, so ID address body, we're going to go ahead and insert table information here. So let's do this. So here we are down here, and we've got, we'll let that keep logging out. But let's go ahead and I'm going to make a string for now, and let's see what that turns out to be. So let's see, JavaScript can do string substitution. So let's see what that looks like. So JavaScript string substitution. It should tell us how to do that. So template literal strings. So that's what we're looking up around MDN again. So see this little, I guess it's called a tick mark. We can put an expression in here like this. So let's see how that works. So it's got variables up above. So let's just try that in the console again. All right, so let's do this. We've got address right here. So let's see what this looks like. And how did they do it? Did they set it equal to anything? I think you can set it equal to something. Let's try it. All right, so let's do let, and let's just call it output equals, and we're going to just do a simple one for now. Let's say email, and let's put $email like that. That's the format. And then let's see what that prints out. Let's see, console.log output. All right, so now we should get some output, which is an email, and then the address. Let's go back here. Okay, and it got us as an object because I didn't put this in there like that. Okay, so it's address.email. All right, let's see how that works out. Okay, then we got Bob's email, so that worked. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a template using something like this for our table. Now remember, and let's go ahead and just put it right here. A table starts with tr, right, and then it has a td, and then here we were going to put email. Oh, and I got to make sure I put address dot email, and then it had an ntd, and then we had 3 columns, right? So then we're going to do another td, and we're going to do address dot phone, and then ntd, and then we're going to start another td, and this will be address 1. So we're going to do $address 1, and then end the td, and then end the tr. Oops, that's td. Okay, so now we should be able to insert that inside. So let's call this template. Let's call it a constant. So constant means it doesn't change, and we'll just call it template equals. All right, so now we should be able to do this instead of having this literal here like that. We should be able to do with our template. Oh, I wonder how that's going to actually work. Seems like it needs to do this. Let's call this output again. And it's not a constant anymore because it's going to change in that loop. And let's see what that prints out. Okay, there's a tr, a td, and that looks all good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to keep appending that to, so let's make a variable for table data. And right now it's just going to equal an empty string because there's really nothing to it. And then we're going to append this td to it, or this table row to it. So let's do that. So each time we go through here, and remember from the Java lessons on assignment operators, JavaScript and Java are very similar. So what I'm going to do here is we've got that table data. So I'm going to do table data, and you'll remember this plus equals from the assignment operators. JavaScript has it too, and it does it for strings. I think Java can also do the same thing. And so now we're going to take table data plus output. And now output's going to print out. We don't need address. And then at the end of this, let's print out table data. Okay, let's refresh the page. Okay, there's our table data printed out. So now we want to document.get element by ID like we did before, and we're going to get address table. Is that what we called it? A class table, and it's called address body. let's call it address table. Address body doesn't make sense to me. Okay, and let's call this address table. We already did. Okay, and then here we're going to set the inner HTML of that equal to our table data. Okay, and let's see what happens here. Hey, we got a record. All right, let's add another record. Okay, sure, we'll use Bob's and then we'll change it to something else. How about Roberta? And change the address a little bit. Lives on the same street in the same town. Let's save that. Okay, so we've got success. Our table didn't reload the data, so we'll figure that out in a minute. But let's just refresh our page. And now we've got 2. So we're almost there. Hey, let that plus sign get there. Okay, we don't have edit yet, so we can't change that. All right, so we've got our record showing up. So we're almost there as far as this part goes. Let's go ahead and have it load that record when it gets there. So what we want to do is when we get this, so right now we're putting out success when that happens, and that's not indented properly. Okay, the indentation is strange on this. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. Oh, okay, it's because of this. Okay, so that looks right-ish. Okay, that closes that, so that should go like that. And then I typically just put them on the same line to start it off again. Yeah, indentation's important because it really makes it easier to see things. It looks like it's going to have to go like this for now. And I'll have to fix that indentation later. Okay, so that's a little bit better because then we can see how things go. This then actually goes with that right there. Okay, it's a little bit clearer. Okay, so now here we've got data and data success. Let's see what that actually prints out. We'll do Bob again, and this time we'll do Tom. Tom lives with Bob. All right, so it's success, and it's got that information. So we should be able to take this, and if we do the similar thing with the output, let's see, that's going to set inner HTML. What we should do differently then is actually have data returned to us from the server side that has all the rows. That's probably not the best idea, because what if we had 1,000,000 of them? Every time we add one, we're going to have to do 1,000,000 reads back in. So we can append a row to that table. Let's try that. And I'm just going to copy and paste this for now, and we can clean this up in a little bit. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so we've got that output, and this is called address. Let's change that variable and see if that works for us. Okay, and then let's console log that. Did that actually get the right works? Yeah, it did. Okay, so then I'm going to console log output. So every time we add a record, it's going to output right here. Okay, let's run that. I'm just going to refresh the page here. All right, so now we've got Tom, and let's do another person. How about, I don't know, Bill? Oh, we're doing lowercase, so let's do Bill. That if we save. Okay, so now that on line 93, console logged out our output. So let's see how we append to an HTML element. So mdn HTML append. Okay, they've got a better one. mdn JavaScript append HTML. So node append child. So how does that work? Or element append. Either one probably works fine. append some text. So you think that'll work? It's one way to find out. Let's try it. All right, so now we want our document get element by ID, and we're going to get the address table, and we're going to append. And we should be able to append output to it. I think that works. I'm not sure. That's what it says. Oh wait, what's this P? Append some text. Well, let's see what it does, because I don't know what it's going to do. Oops, where's the browser? There it is. Right here, and let's do this. I'm running out of names. David. We got something. Ah, look at that. It put this as what we put in instead of the actual data. It's got it, but it put it in as data, probably because the append method is doing something that we don't want. So how about append HTML? So how do you make HTML out of something? Okay, let's do this. JavaScript append HTML to element. How about to table? Look at that. There's one right there. Okay. Stack Overflow is a good resource too. So what do they have here? So they're actually making elements in JavaScript. Okay, this will do. Oh, that's using jQuery, which is handy, but not what we're using. Okay. Not really finding what I want here. Let's do this. And I don't know if this will work. innerHTML plus equals output. That'll be interesting if that works. And probably not the most optimal thing, but let's see what it does. We're learning, so let's just keep experimenting. Okay, so we didn't get the record. No, David showed up because it ended up on the server but didn't come here the way we want it. So Tom, how about Tim? All right, save. Hey, it worked. There's Tim. Let's do another one. How about John? And there's John. So there we are. We have a table on the client side to see our records go in. I just refresh the page and they're all still there. So that's working. And we'll later on, we'll go at the end of all these parts, we'll see how we can optimize things out. We're learning how to put this together. I haven't done this part before, so we're learning together, and then let's see what happens. All right, we'll see you in the next part. We're going to go back to the we're going to do a little bit more on this side to get it to where we can edit one of these, and then we'll be back on the server side doing an update of the data that we have on the server. Okay, see you in the next part.